stop, just stop for a second, because something already happened around you, not something that is coming, not something you need to wait for, something that already shifted, already moved. And most people in your exact position would completely miss it because they are still looking in the wrong direction. Someone in your life has crossed a line, not the line of admiring you, not the line of thinking about you sometimes. A different line. The kind that keeps a person awake at 2 a.m. with no good reason. The kind that makes them replay a moment between you two. Something small. Something that probably felt ordinary to you over and over, like a song they cannot get out of their head. They cannot name what they feel. They cannot quiet it. And it started the moment you did one specific thing. And here's the part that is going to unsettle you more than it excites you. That thing you did, you didn't even know you were doing it. You weren't performing. You weren't trying harder. You weren't showing up as some better, shinier version of yourself. You just did something. Something quiet. Something that happened more on the inside than the outside. And it changed everything around you in ways you're only beginning to feel. Here is what I need you to understand before we go any deeper. Once you see what shifted inside you and what that shift triggered inside them, you will not be able to look at love or attraction or even yourself the same way again. That is not a small thing, so stay with me. Because the thing that made someone fall crazy in love with you had nothing to do with doing more. It happened the moment you finally. And I need to talk about something first. Because before we get to what they feel, before we get to any of that, I need to acknowledge something about you. Something that does not get said enough. You have been tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. Not the kind that a good weekend or a vacation touches. The other kind. The deep, invisible kind. That comes from loving loudly in silence. From showing up fully, consistently, generously for people who treated your presence like furniture. Like something that was just there. Useful. Unremarkable. Easy to overlook. You were the one who remembered everything, who checked in, who stayed, and somehow you were still the one who felt alone, in rooms full of people who claimed to care about you, at tables where you were surrounded but not truly seen, in relationships where you gave and gave and gave and still went home feeling like a stranger to your own life. That is a specific kind of pain, and you carried it quietly, because that is what you did. You carried things quietly, but then something happened. Maybe it wasn't dramatic, maybe it didn't look like anything from the outside, but there was a moment, a specific moment, where something inside you just let go. Not gave up, let go, and you felt the difference. You felt it in your chest, in your exhale, in the way you stopped reaching for people who were not reaching back. You released the need to be chosen by people who could not see you. You released the performance of being easy, of being low maintenance, of making yourself smaller so other people could feel more comfortable around you. You stopped shrinking, and that single, quiet, internal shift is the thing that changed everything around you. That is what they saw. Not a new outfit, not a better version of your highlight reel. They saw something settle in you, something become still. And that stillness, that is what broke them completely open. Now here is where most people get it wrong. They think someone fell for them because of chemistry, because of the way they looked that one afternoon, because of the right words said at the right moment, because of timing or fate, or some invisible spark that just happened. And that explanation is comfortable. But comfort is almost always a lie we tell ourselves to avoid something deeper. Because real attraction, the kind that becomes obsession, the kind that keeps someone awake and restless and reaching for their phone at midnight, that is not born in what you show. It is not born in your best angle or your funniest story. Version of yourself to you carefully present to the world. It is born in what you stopped hiding. The moment you became fully, unapologetically, completely yourself, something changed in the air around you. Not because you became more impressive, because you became more true. And truth? Truth is the rarest thing most people ever encounter in another person. The unconscious mind is not moved by performance. It never was. It is moved by truth. And for the first time in a long time, you started telling the truth. Not to them, but to yourself. And they felt it, even if they couldn't explain what they were feeling. Here's what happens when someone encounters a person who is no longer performing, no longer shrinking, no longer quietly available for less than they deserve. Something stirs in them. Something old. Something unresolved. Something that has been waiting below the surface of their carefully constructed life for longer than they would ever admit. And this is where it gets darker than most people expect, because they didn't fall for who you are. They fell for what you reminded them of. A version of themselves they made a decision about, quietly, maybe years ago. A version they decided was too much, too vulnerable, too risky to keep alive. You didn't just attract them, you haunted them. You became a mirror, not by trying, not by performing, not by being more interesting or more available or more anything. By finally being so completely, unapologetically yourself that anyone standing close enough had no choice but to see themselves in you, and that is a rare thing. Rarer than most people realize. See, for a long time you were a shapeshifter. You adjusted. You softened your edges for people who couldn't handle the full weight of you. You made yourself smaller in rooms where your size made others uncomfortable. You people-pleased and over-explained and bent yourself into whatever shape felt safest in the moment. And then you stopped. That stopping, that stillness, that quiet, unshakable rootedness you finally allowed yourself to stand in. That is what cracked them open. Not your beauty, not your wit, not some perfectly timed thing you said. Your stillness. The fact that you were no longer moving around them, adjusting for them, performing for them. You just were. And when someone stands completely still in a world full of people constantly performing, it forces everyone around them to confront something uncomfortable. Because here is what they'll saw when they looked at you. Not you. Themselves. Their own unlived life. Their own abandoned authenticity. Every version of themselves they quietly buried to survive. To fit in, to be loved, to avoid the pain of being fully seen and fully rejected. They saw all of it reflected back in the simple, devastating act of you finally being real. And that is not a gentle thing to encounter. That is a violent thing. Internally violent. Because you cannot unsee your own unlived life once someone holds it up in front of you. You cannot unknow it. So understand this about what is happening right now. You are not just someone they want. You have become a symbol of everything they silenced inside themselves. Every truth they swallowed. Every desire they buried. Every version of themselves they decided the world wasn't safe enough to meet. And symbols do not fade. They haunt. Here is what is happening inside them right now. And I need you to really hear this. They are not simply thinking about you. That would be manageable. That would be something a person could file away and move on from. What is happening inside them is different. They are being pulled by something they do not have language for, something they cannot locate the source of, something that operates underneath logic, underneath reason, underneath every rational explanation they have tried to build. They replay the last conversation you had, not because they want to, because they cannot stop. Because somewhere in that exchange, something said, something felt, something that almost rose to the surface but didn't quite. Their unconscious grabbed it and refuses to let it go. And here is where it splits. One part of them is moving toward you with everything they have, craving you, craving the specific feeling of being near you, of being seen by you, of finally feeling like someone understands something in them they couldn't even put into words. That part is wide open. That part has already decided, but another part is pulling back with equal force. Not because the feeling isn't real, because it is too real. Because real things require something from you. And this person has spent a very long time making sure nothing could require that much. So you get the mixed signals, the warmth, and then the silence, the closeness, and then the distance that follows, like a door quietly closing. But here is the truth beneath all of that. They are not confused about you. They are overwhelmed by themselves. You just happen to be the thing that broke the dam. And the closer they feel to you, the more exposed they feel within themselves. An exposure to a psyche that was built brick by brick around self-protection, that does not feel like love. That feels like danger. You have felt it, haven't you? That strange intensity that appears and then vanishes. That's not indifference. That is a person in free fall, trying to find the wall. So they pulled back, maybe suddenly, maybe gradually, maybe in that quiet, confusing way where they were still technically present, but you could feel them retreating. And you probably wondered what it meant, whether you did something, whether the feeling was ever real. Here's what they told themselves when they created that distance. Space will quiet this. Distance will bring clarity. Time will weaken what I feel. If I just step back far enough, long enough, this will lose its grip on me. It sounds reasonable. It sounds like self-control. But here is what they did not understand about their own psyche. Distance does not kill unconscious attachment. It does something far more dangerous. It removes reality. The actual you. The real conversations. The ordinary moments that keep a feeling grounded. And replaces it with imagination. And imagination has no limits. Imagination does not get tired. Imagination does not show up on a bad day or say the wrong thing or become familiar. Imagination makes everything more perfect, more necessary, more irreplaceable. So now you are not just a person in their life. You are a story they are writing about themselves. And the story keeps getting more important the longer they stay away. Every day of distance adds another chapter. Every quiet moment they spend not reaching out becomes evidence, not of moving on, but of how deeply they are still feeling. The obsession doesn't cool in your absence. It concentrates. It becomes more specific, more vivid, more impossible to dismiss. The version of you living in their mind right now is not smaller than the real you. It is larger. It is louder. It is everywhere. And here is the truth. They are not ready to face. They thought they were creating distance from you. They were actually creating distance from the only thing that could resolve what is building inside them. And that kind of pressure, it does not stay quiet forever. Here is what most people never think about. The person feeling this for you, they didn't arrive here unprotected. They built walls, not carelessly, carefully, brick by brick, over years, shaped by every single time they were told they were too much. Every time they opened up and got punished for it. Every time they loved fully, and it cost them something they couldn't afford to lose. So they learned, they got quiet, they got controlled, they built a version of themselves that didn't need anyone, and they got very, very good at living inside it. And then you appeared, and without trying, without even knowing, you walked straight through every single one of those walls. Not because you forced your way in, not because you were louder or more persistent or more impressive than anyone else, but because you stopped needing to be. You stopped performing. And a person who has stopped performing is the one thing a carefully constructed wall has no defense against. Because here is what your authenticity does to someone like that. It threatens everything. If they move toward you, they have to dismantle the identity that kept them safe. The version of themselves that feels nothing too deeply. That stays in control. That never lets anyone close enough to matter. Moving toward you means becoming someone they don't fully recognize yet. And that is not romantic to a defended psyche. That is terrifying. So the walls fight back. They create narratives. Maybe this isn't real. Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe it's moving too fast. Maybe I'll lose myself if I let this in. And I need you to hear this clearly. Those are not doubts about you. Those are the walls defending themselves. That is a structure fighting to survive. But here is the truth. They cannot outrun. The walls are already cracked. The moment they felt what they felt for you, really felt it, the structure changed. You can patch a crack, you can cover it, you can pretend it isn't there, but you cannot uncrack a wall. Here is something about the human psyche that most people never learn until it is too late. It cannot hold contradiction forever. It was never built to. The mind can suppress, rationalize, reframe, delay, but it cannot carry two opposing truths indefinitely without something eventually giving way. And what they feel for you, it has already pushed past every limit they thought they had, every single one, and now it is leaking. Not dramatically, not in ways that are obvious from the outside, but in the small things, the look that stays a half-second longer than it should, the message they typed out completely. You would not believe how. Completely and then deleted without sending. The silence after you say something that lands somewhere deep in them, a silence that communicates more than anything they have actually said out loud. They still appear composed, functional, present, like everything is fine and nothing is happening and they are completely in control of themselves. But internally something has stopped pretending. And here is what you need to understand about that. Once something inside a person stops pretending, the countdown begins. Not to chaos necessarily, not to some dramatic confession or breaking moment, but to resolution. Because the psyche does not stay in contradiction. It was never designed to. It seeks resolution the way water seeks level ground, quietly, persistently, inevitably. Resolution is coming. The only question still open is what form it arrives in. But here is where I need you to stop and really hear this. This breaking point you are standing at the edge of right now, the one you can feel but maybe cannot fully name. It did not happen to you by accident. You did not stumble into this. You did not get lucky. You created this, not by doing more, not by being louder or softer or more available or more strategic, by finally doing less. There is a specific stillness that arrives just before everything becomes undeniable, not peaceful, not the kind of stillness that brings relief. A tense, suffocating quiet where every rationalization they have been carrying, every story, every excuse, every maybe I'm overthinking this, runs out at the exact same time. And in that stillness, they finally see it. Not just that they want you, but why. And the why is the part that changes everything. Because here is what is actually happening inside them right now. They are not simply in love with who you are. They are grieving, quietly, privately, in a place they don't have language for yet. Grieving the version of themselves that didn't close off. The version that didn't learn to survive by needing nothing. The version that never confused self-protection with self-destruction. That version has been buried for a long time, and then you showed up. Just being yourself. Finally, fully yourself. And without saying a single word about any of it, you held up a mirror. You didn't just make them fall crazy in love with you. You held up a mirror to the part of them that has been starving. Starving for something real. Starving for permission to want something fully. Without apology. Without armor. Starving for proof that a person can be completely whole and still be loved. That is why this feels the way it feels. That is why there is so much intensity in what should be simple. Because it was never simple. It was never just attraction. You became the evidence against every lie they ever quietly told themselves about who they were allowed to be, what they were allowed to want, how much they were allowed to feel. And that is not something a person recovers from easily, because that is the most terrifying kind of love, not the kind that simply wants you, the kind that needs you to be real. Because if you are real, if someone like you actually exists, then maybe they can be too. And now they are standing in the most impossible place a person can stand. Two directions, no safe path, no option that doesn't cost something real. If they move toward you, they have to dismantle everything they spent years building to survive. Every wall, every carefully constructed story about who they are and what they need and why they don't let people in. All of it gone. Because you cannot move towards someone like you and stay the same person. It doesn't work that way. And if they move away, they carry it quietly. For a long time, that specific weight of knowing they felt something real and chose to put it down. That question that surfaces in the silence, years from now, in moments they cannot explain, wondering what would have happened if they hadn't been so afraid of their own feelings. And here is the truth that lives underneath all of it. They already know which one they will regret. Deeply, quietly, in the part of themselves that does not lie. They already know. But here is what matters most right now. And I need you to really hear this. This was never just about them. You are not the same person you were. You are not the one who kept themselves small, hoping someone would finally notice. You are not the one who gave everything and waited in silence for something. Anything in return. That version of you made a choice. Maybe quietly, maybe without even fully realizing the weight of what they were doing. They chose to finally be real. And real people do not just attract love. They transform the people around them without even trying. You are not a feeling in someone's life. You are a turning point. A fracture in someone's old story. A doorway they have been circling for years without ever knowing what was waiting on the other side. The doorway is open now, and it will not fully close. Because what you finally did, what you finally allowed yourself to be, that cannot be undone. Not in you, and not in them.